Hello everyone, the Green Scorpion here, and it's time for a Faceoff Countdown! So what's this all about? Basically, I'll be doing a double top 5 countdown of 2 different character types, and each respective number from each list will battle it out to see which team is superior. For the first face-off, it's the swashbuckling thieves known as the Pirates versus the Ninjas, the quick-footed warriors of the shadows. As usual, only games I've played and only one per franchise. Each list will be based on characterization and personality, backstory, design, creativity, and battle capabilities. However, the battle itself will only be based on what they are capable on the battlefield. Also, I'm solely restricting this to video game characters, so don't expect Naruto or Jack Sparrow to be on here. With that, let's not delay any longer. Who will be the swiftest? Who will be the motliest? And who will come out on top? The Face-Off Countdown starts now! Sub-Zero versus Ridley. Sub-Zero is one of the 2 poster boys of the Mortal Kombat franchise. With his incredible martial arts expertise in cryokinesis, he's become a favorite among gamers. Now I know what you're thinking. The Green Scorpion chose Sub-Zero over Scorpion? What? Yes. While I love Scorpion, I find Sub-Zero to be the better ninja. Not just in terms of combat, but he's also an overall more interesting character. Sub-Zero's real name is Kuai Liang, and he, along with his older brother Bi-Han, were members of the Lin Kuei assassins and trained in the art of cryomancy and martial arts. Bi-Han was actually the original Sub-Zero in the first Mortal Kombat game until Scorpion killed him. Kuai Liang takes the role of Sub-Zero in the second game after his brother's death, with the purpose of killing Scorpion out of revenge. At least until he finds out that his older brother Bi-Han has become the undead warrior noob Saibot. Sub-Zero's character actually goes through some nice development. In the early games, he's depicted as a stern, cold man who executes his work while keeping the attention away from him. However, he starts to become a more respectable man over the years, depicting a respectful and chivalrous personality. After the enlightening experiences with Noob Saibot, Scorpion, and Shao Kahn, he eventually leaves the Lin Kuei and becomes one of Earthrealm's most powerful guardians alongside Raiden and Liu Kang. As for his battle prowess, Sub-Zero is an opponent that should always be taken seriously. His finesse with his cryomancy is legendary. With it, he can directly freeze his opponents with an ice freeze or ice shower, freeze the ground to slip up his opponents, and use it to increase his mobility, and even create ice clones that freeze enemies on contact. He can also use his ice to create weaponry, his signature weapon being the massive Kori Blade. Along with that, Sub-Zero is highly skilled in the martial arts, including styles like Wushu and Shotokan. He also wears a Dragon Medallion, which unlocks certain latent abilities, making him even more powerful. Coupled with the stealth and precision of a trained assassin, it's hard to deny that Sub-Zero is one of the most powerful fighters in the Mortal Kombat roster. He has faced some of the deadliest warriors in the world and beyond, and even bested the mighty Motaro and the all-powerful Shao Kahn. With a track record filled with bloodshed and brutality, Sub-Zero truly deserves all the respect he gets, even if he does have the tendency to give the cold shoulder. Well, not all pirates have to be seaworthy, right? Ridley is a space pirate commander and sworn enemy of Samus Aran. He has appeared in almost every Metroid game as a boss and has made a reputation of being one of the most ruthless characters in gaming history. Despite Ridley's ferocious-looking exterior, he's known for being very intelligent. He's quite a tactician and is a very adept survivalist, which results in his constant appearances throughout the Metroid franchise. However, his intelligence doesn't necessarily result in a calm personality. Ridley is a dangerous customer with a violent personality and a love for destruction and chaos. He also shows that he can be quite sadistic, especially to Samus. He also can be a bit discriminatory, seeing other races and creatures to be inferior. As for his combat abilities, Ridley is a close-range monstrosity. His razor-sharp claws, teeth, and tail can sever almost anything, and he can even fire plasma out of his mouth either in forms of single blasts or a stream. He uses his wings for flight, serving to outmaneuver his opponents and glide in for some devastating sneak attacks. While Ridley mainly resorts to a ferocious fighting style, he's smart enough to be able to protect himself, utilize the environment, and keep his distance if necessary. He's been through plenty of skirmishes, and among them, Samus has been the only one able to subdue him. Even still, he finds a way to come back, determined and ready for action. Ultimately, Ridley is both smart and strong, a very dangerous combination that no one should take lightly. Alright, the face-off is set. Who's it gonna be? Sub-Zero was certainly put up a good fight, but Ridley's sheer ferocity and aerial combat would eventually give him the win. Not to mention, Ridley's dealt with ice before. As a result, the first face-off goes to the Pirates. Strider Hiryu vs. Vise. Strider Hiryu is argued to be the most powerful Strider ever, becoming a Special A-class Strider at the youngest age in the history of the organization. Hiryu's personality and track record are both very remarkable. While Hiryu's history is top secret, his personality depicts someone who is very stringent yet very professional. He carries out his missions with a calm and collected demeanor, with a focus rivaled by few. However, underneath that tough exterior is a tormented soul. Hiryu has been forced into situations where he's required to do things against his will, from taking on a questionable mission to even killing his own sister. Even after retirement, he still possesses a desire for justice and takes matters into his own hands should the need ever arise. Even after so much suffering, Hiryu continues to keep that level-headed personality that is highly respected by many. His battle capabilities are a huge jump compared to Sub-Zero's. Hiryu is famous for his speed and dexterity, and his strength is beyond that of a normal human's. His training with the Striders also turned him into a professional assassin and spy, mastering stealth and espionage. Despite his expertise in stealth, Hiryu isn't afraid to face the enemy head-on. Hiryu is proficient in several hand-to-hand combat techniques and is trained in the style of taijutsu. His chief weapon is the Cipher, a double-edged blade designed to slice opponents with ease. Hiryu's finesse with the Cipher is well known among the other Striders. His strength and dexterity allows him to swing the blade so fast that it breaks a sound barrier. He can also call upon the Options, a legion of support robots that Hiryu can command as he pleases. Hiryu truly has earned his title as a ninja, and you'd better hope that you aren't on his hit list, because if you hear that subtle sound of his blade, it's too late. Vise from Skies of Arcadia is a sky pirate and proud leader of the Blue Rogues. While he is young, he is very mature for his age. Vise's personality depicts a stalwart and respectable young man with a natural talent for leadership. He takes care to be a role model to those around him and puts on a friendly demeanor to everyone he meets. Vise is a treasured character in the RPG genre since he contradicts the usual RPG protagonist cliché of being depressing, broody, or immature. Also, Vise is overall a very well-designed character. His pirate getup, complete with a blue jacket and an eye patch-shaped lens, give off the feeling of confidence and sincerity, which is accurate. Plus, his sharp appearance denotes that he cleans himself up very nicely, depicting a sense of responsibility. Again, very accurate. Vise also has a strong sense of justice and is always willing to step in to help those in need, making him a very respectable character in the video game universe. Along with his strong personality, Vise is no slouch on the battlefield. He wields two cutlasses in battle and channels his energy through them, amplifying his physical abilities beyond that of a normal human's. He can also use his inner energy to cast several special attacks, including Rain of Swords and his signature Cutlass Fury. He can also call upon his friends to perform several combination attacks, including the ever-powerful Prophecy. However, this Faceoff Countdown will only have the characters fighting alone. Even so, Vise is powerful and smart enough on his own, driving his strength based on the flow of battle by guarding and attacking at the right time. Vise combines an optimistic personality with an intelligent fighting style, making him a gem among the RPG protagonists. Alright, the face-off is set. Who's it gonna be? Vise truly is very skilled with his blades, but he doesn't begin to compare to Hiryu. Also, Hiryu's inhuman speed and agility would quickly overwhelm Vise in a duel, leaving him vulnerable to Hiryu's attacks. This face-off goes to the ninjas, tying the score. Joe Musashi vs. Cervantes. Despite the unfitting first name, Joe Musashi of the Shinobi series is a ninja that shouldn't be taken lightly. Unlike Hiryu or Sub-Zero who are bound by the laws of their clan, Joe is a free spirit who trained under one sensei and even went and got himself a lovely wife. Joe's personality is one befitting a ninja. He's courageous, determined, and quite chivalrous at that. He is also very intelligent and calculating, analyzing the situation at hand and taking the smart course of action whether with stealth or with power. His intelligence is also demonstrated by how he treats his enemies. He never judges a book by its cover, thus he never underestimates an enemy, making him a difficult opponent to deceive. Joe Musashi also has the skills to back up his intelligence. Joe is a very versatile ninja, specializing in kendo, karate, archery, and horseback riding. He also has the ability to hide in plain sight and create afterimages to throw off his opponents, and he can sense potential threats using Harege and can channel the Earth's energy using prana. On top of that, Joe is a proficient hacker, a master of disguise, and can treat his own or others' wounds using medical ninjutsu. Joe is a master strategist and his physical abilities allow him to perform actions without making a peep, making him a silent but deadly opponent. Cervantes de Leon is a ghost pirate whose soul is bound to Soul Edge, and he can be considered one of the most ruthless and unforgiving characters in video game history. Cervantes' backstory is interesting and somewhat heartbreaking. His father, Philip de Leon, used to be a sailor under the command of Spain's government. Philip was sent on a mission when his ship came across an English warship, which obliterated his ship and killed him in the process. Devastated by his father's death, he betrays his country and becomes a pirate with no one to follow but himself. He eventually takes a job to hunt down Soul Edge only to have his soul stolen by the blade, turning him into the merciless, power-hungry monster we know him as today. As a result, Cervantes' personality depicts him as a callous and cold-blooded pirate whose only care is to achieve power and collect souls and sword fragments to keep Soul Edge alive, thus keeping him alive as his soul is connected to Soul Edge. As for his battle prowess, his weapons of choice are two blades, a longsword and a pistol sword, and he uses them in a way that can only be described as ferocious. Cervantes focuses on rushing his opponent with flanking strikes and heavy slashes, plus his strength makes him a real bruiser. While some of his attacks do leave him vulnerable if he misses, Cervantes only needs to land one hit before he can rush his opponent with a never-ending barrage of attacks, making him a close-range threat. Not to mention, because of his connection to Soul Edge, Cervantes' endurance is inhuman. He can take a lot of punishment, which is fitting since he doesn't really rely too much on defenses, preferring to rush down his opponent with quick and aggressive attacks. Once he traps you, you might as well say your prayers. Alright, the face-off is set. Who's it gonna be? Joe Musashi may be a master of stealth and he could last a long time in this battle, but Cervantes' endurance would eventually win out and he is also much stronger than Joe. He really only needs to land one hit on Joe until he slices him to bits, putting the Pirates ahead of the game 2-1. Gray Fox vs. Gangplank. Gray Fox may be one of the most incredible ninjas in gaming, but this guy has one of the most depressing backstories I've seen in a while. His true name is Frank Jaeger, and as a child, he was a soldier under the command of Frelimo and actually did battle against Big Boss when he was only a teenager. The CIA then took him to be a test subject for the Perfect Soldier project, dramatically enhancing his physical abilities far greater than a normal human, but suppressing his emotions so that he can kill his targets with no sense of regret or remorse. However, after the events at San Geronimo, Gray Fox befriends Solid Snake and Big Boss, only to then become enemies at Zanzibar Island where he supposedly died. It wasn't until the Shadow Moses Island incident where they would meet again. With this kind of backstory, it's no surprise that Gray Fox's personality is influenced by despair, but he demonstrates loyalty and even a small sense of humor after he and Snake face Metal Gear Rex in the first Metal Gear Solid game. With the training received since childhood and the enhancements gained from the Perfect Soldier project, Gray Fox is literally a one-man army. He wields a katana that he can swing so fast it puts Hiryu to shame. With his sword, he can deflect a barrage of bullets and can slice off more heads in a second than the Demo Man can in 5 minutes. Also, he wears the cyborg ninja suit that increases his abilities even further, mainly his agility and speed, and he gains the use of stealth camouflage. With his military training, he is also proficient in firearms and the CQC combat style. Plus, the suit has an incredibly durable exoskeleton, able to withstand a massive amount of force. It's no wonder he was the only one on Foxhound to receive the codename Fox. This guy is a killing machine! Okay, you guys didn't think I'd go through this list without mentioning League of Legends, right? Here we find a true swashbuckling conqueror of the sea, Gangplank the Saltwater Scourge. Gangplank's backstory isn't really strange considering his character, but it's certainly interesting. Gangplank was born on the city of Bilgewater as the son of Vincent the Shadow, the scariest and wealthiest pirate on Blue Flame Island. Even though he lived a life surrounded by luxury, his childhood was anything but easy. Vincent the Shadow was a ruthless father, raising his son to be just as brutal and callous. When Gangplank turned 18, it was the happiest moment of his father's life when he stabbed him in the back and claimed his father's ship, the Deadpool, and also the position of the most feared pirate in the land. However, Bilgewater was experiencing an economic recession, so Gangplank represented his hometown as champion and joined the League of Legends before taking his rightful place as the king of piracy. Gangplank is an excellent single and group combatant, utilizing abilities to hinder his opponents and benefit himself and his allies. His grog-soaked blade allows him to poison his enemies. Parley has him draw and fire a pistol for physical damage. Remove Scurvy heals him and removes any debuffs. Raise Morale gives him and his allies a boost on attack power and movement speed. And finally, his ultimate, Cannon Barrage, is a projectile attack that Gangplank can aim anywhere on the map. Any units hit by his cannon fire will take massive damage and be slow to boot. Coupled with exceptional offensive and defensive stats, and you have a dangerous pirate captain that will blow your head off the instant you tick him off. Alright, the face-off is set. Who's it gonna be? Grey Fox wins this one by a long shot. Gangplank may be an amazing fighter in terms of League of Legends, but Grey Fox's military training and enhanced abilities would allow him to tear through an army of League champions. This ties the score once again, which means this last face-off will decide the winner. Ryu Hayabusa vs. Balthier. Known as the modern-day ninja, Ryu Hayabusa of the Dragon Clan takes the title of the greatest video game ninja hands down. Ryu Hayabusa was trained since childhood in the ways of the ninja, and thanks to his high intellect and natural adaptive skills, he exceeded among all of his peers until he eventually claimed the Hayabusa name. While Ryu walked the path of the ninja with pride, he understood that it would be a path filled with danger, despair, and hardship. He realized this by the time he turned 21 by the death of his father and the destruction of his own clan. He even died himself only to be brought back later to exact his vengeance. This has hardened his feelings, which work to his advantage in combat. He is brutal and merciless to his enemies, but also calculating and strategic, much like Joe Musashi. He will do all he can to maintain the peaceful balance in the world, and if that means slicing a few heads off and tearing off some limbs, he's more than happy to oblige. Outside of combat, however, he's very respectful and calm. He shows kindness to those he cares for and those he's protecting. He also demonstrates maturity and intelligence far beyond his years, earning him a positive reputation among his village, his allies, and sometimes even his enemies. As for combat, Ryu has it all. He's been trained in the Hayabusa style of ninjutsu and has learned crucial survival techniques and scouting skills. He is adept at hand-to-hand combat and is proficient with a frightening arsenal of weapons. However, his chief weapon is the legendary Dragon Sword, a blade passed down from generations by the Hayabusa clan. Ryu's physical capabilities are beyond imaginable. His speed and agility exceeds even Hiryu's, and his strength allows him to wield even large weaponry with no change to his dexterity. Along with that, Ryu follows the classic ninja trend of performing magical techniques, specifically his Ninpo techniques. With it, he can manipulate fire, water, ice, lightning, and wind, use teleportation, and even channel his ki to perform medical ninjutsu. Even with this vast arsenal, Ryu isn't afraid to go back to the basic techniques of ninja lore, including water running, the art of substitution, and taijutsu, which includes his signature move, the deadly Izuna drop. Ryu is known for accomplishing the impossible and taking down a plethora of tough opponents, including demons, skilled warriors, and even dragons. Ryu Hayabusa is truly the peak of what a ninja should be, making him the #1 greatest ninja in video game history. Balthier from Final Fantasy XII is definitely one of the more interesting and lovable characters in Final Fantasy history. While his personality does make him seem a bit cocky and cynical, he is very respectable and trusting and at times can be a real charmer. Balthier's backstory also says a lot about his character. His real name is Famran Maid Bunanza, and he was the son of Sidolphus Demon Bunanza, a scientist of the Arcadian Empire. Balthier studied to be a judge since childhood and showed such promise that he was granted the position at 16 years old. However, after his father returned from a trip to Giravegan, he noticed that his father had become a completely different person and not for the better. This, along with the downhill direction that the Empire was taking, was the reason for Balthier's leave from the Empire and stealing one of their airships. After meeting up with the Vieira named Fran, he took the name Balthier and traveled all over Ivalice as a sky pirate, where he eventually meets Van and Penello in the events of Final Fantasy XII. If only all runaway stories were that exciting. His combat skills are, not surprisingly, very exceptional. He is proficient with firearms as well as several bladed weapons. His strength and speed exceed those of a normal fighter, and his skills are nothing to sneeze at either. He utilizes his weapons expertise into several useful techniques, including maim and hamstring to disable and immobilize his foes. However, his ultimate attack, Element of Treachery, deals a massive amount of damage to a single target, making him a force to be reckoned with. Balthier is a close-range threat, and his guns give him a ranged advantage as well. With his skills, he and the Final Fantasy XII squad were able to take down a slew of dangerous creatures, and they even managed to prevent global destruction at the hands of the Nephesite and the Mist. Even though Balthier may come off as a bit self-righteous, he has the skills to back it up, making him the #1 greatest pirate in video game history. Alright, the face-off is set. Who's it gonna be? Balthier is an excellent combatant, combining strategy and physical prowess. However, his arsenal and skills pale in comparison to Ryu's. In addition, Balthier isn't proficient with magic and lacks the ability to heal himself, whereas Ryu can use his Ninpo to fix himself up pretty easily. It was a close call, but Ryu takes the final face-off, giving the ninjas the final point. This was a close match, and the Pirates truly demonstrated that they are not to be taken lightly. However, the ninjas were able to reign supreme with their finesse and skill, ultimately claiming victory. I am the Green Scorpion, and the winners of this face-off countdown are the ninjas.